Okay, at this point, I think you know what I'm about to say. Or I think you know that I want to ask you something. And I need you to be honest with me. When you finish something you've been putting off, what's the first thing that you do? Because if you're anything like me, it's not, okay, I gently regulated my nervous system. It's more like, yeah, thank God it's over. I deserve something. Whether that may be a snack, a drink, a night out, scrolling, or my favorite, online shopping. And honestly, that's fair. You did the thing, you did the task. I'm proud of you. But now, this talk is about what happens right after that moment. Because that's where emotional stability either builds or quietly slips through your fingers. But before I get started, so that way this context, this concept, this talk lands right. If right now, even getting the small things done feels overwhelming, cleaning, cooking, organizing, and taking care of yourself, this might not be the first conversation you need. I talked about that in Rituals Over Routines, building emotional stability through the small things. That one is about creating foundations that make tasks feel safe and doable again. This talk is what comes after that. Because once you get the small things done, what you do next becomes just as important. Here's the part that we don't really talk about. A lot of us think that the work ends when the task ends. But your nervous system doesn't work like a checklist. Just because you finish a task doesn't mean your body immediately relaxes. So instead of settling, we stimulate, not because we're irresponsible, not because we lack discipline, but because we're relieved. And relief wants contrast. If every time you complete something stressful, you immediately reward yourself with stimulation, you're not actually teaching your body safety. You're teaching it, get through this, and then escape. Which explains why consistency feels exhausting, why small tasks feel bigger than they should, and motivation comes in waves instead of staying steady. And that's not a personality flaw. That's a nervous system pattern. Completion is not the same as regulation. Finishing a task is mental. It's extremely tough on the mind. It's a battle. Regulating after a task is physical. Most of us were taught how to push through, not how to land. So we celebrate loudly or distract aggressively because no one showed us how to come down gently. This isn't about taking joy away from yourself. It's about not skipping over your body once the effort is done. Instead of asking, what do I get now? Try asking what helps me settle, even briefly. And even though we don't out loud ask these questions, this is what our subconscious does. We do the heavy load, we put the effort in, and now, again, that relief needs contrast. And so we do the thing that we know we shouldn't be doing, but there's comfortability in it. Now, there's 3 things that I want you to think about. The first thing is the okay, it's done moment. So before moving on, place a hand on your body, take one slow breath, make the exhale longer, and say quietly, it's done. The pause matters more than it sounds like it should. Sometimes after we just completely collapse, it's too big of the contrast, right? We're all tensed and we're getting it done, and then we just sink and we allow ourselves to just fall, not float. And this is helping us float down. so we can land. The second thing I want you to think about is moving without performing. Stretch. Shake out your hands, roll your shoulders, walk slowly into another room. We're not getting into a full exercise. We're not thinking about productivity. We're just unclenching our body. Some somatic movements help. Maybe even going for a walk. Not too long, 3 minutes outside. If you want to go for longer, I get it. My 3 minutes will probably turn into 15 minutes. And now, the third thing. Soothe instead of stimulate. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically have a warm drink. Specifically tea or hot chocolate. If you want coffee, I guess that can help boost your energy a little bit. I wouldn't recommend that, but you know what works for you. Maybe soften your eyes. Allow the light to softly come in since you've been eyes open, focused. Maybe a textured object. I work in pre-K. I didn't realize how much I needed sensory objects. I've always liked fidgeting, or I used to fidget a lot. But sometimes like a Zen garden is very soothing, or even playing with clay, Play-Doh. And I get it. You could be a young adult. You can be an adult. You can be 60 years old. But think about how kids soothe themselves and how it regulates. And just because we've aged and we've had experience in life doesn't mean that those things cannot help. Maybe even listen to some music. Very quiet, very soft. Or if you know yourself, maybe listen some music that will get you pumping. Because even though earlier I said to not celebrate loudly, again, it's what works for you. So if that means playing music and blasting it and just getting it out there, getting that burst of energy, because some people have bursts of energy or maybe need that burst of energy. Do that. Or silence. There is nothing wrong with just sitting in silence. And none of this is deprivation. It's teaching your body that peace doesn't have to be earned. Again, these are just some things that you can do, but do them in the way that works for you. Some things, soothing can be moving your body and dancing and singing loudly. I know there are times when sitting still, having warm tea, it doesn't calm me. So I do have to do the opposite. And you know what? When I first wrote this, I just thought about soft. I thought about nature. I thought about just how calm it can be. But also, there's a beauty in fire and having that flame still lit. Because what if you have other tasks to do? And so it's like I did this mental heavy load and it was great. Sometimes coming all the way down and soothing yourself, you might not want to go back and do that. Or maybe this is your time for a break. So you need to pump the energy up so you can get right back into it. Because this doesn't work for just once you're done a task and that's it for the day, but also when you have to take a break. And sometimes that's what we need. We need 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes max to just reset. And in a way, not in a way, this does build stability. When you stop rewarding effort with escape, you build trust. You do. It's like you can get these tasks done. You got this. And You're not self-sabotaging. You're not spending money. You're not harming your body with the drink. You're not doing the extreme. And now you become someone who finishes things without collapsing. You feel effort without numbing it. And you hold responsibility without resentment. And slowly, that task stopped feeling so dramatic. Life did not get easier. I can promise you, life doesn't get easier, but you got steadier. It's not really something that you have to master or get right, or even have to change anything yet. But it allows you to notice. Notice what your body does after effort. Notice how quickly you want to move on, distract, or reward yourself. Notice your breath, notice your shoulders, notice your urge to rush. This isn't self-judgment. It's information, and information over time becomes wisdom. If you feel restless after finishing something, let that be seen, known, heard. If you feel relief, emptiness, or pull towards stimulation, also let that be seen, known, and heard. And what I mean by heard is say it out loud. Because sometimes you need to hear yourself. Hear, oh my gosh, this is what I did after doing something stressful that needs to change. I was going to say that's not okay, but every case is different. And sometimes it is okay for that contrast, but it's when you keep on doing that contrast, which builds a bad habit. So, what can I do to change that? You aren't correcting your body. You're learning its language. You're learning a language that nobody probably ever taught you how to do. And the more you witness these patterns, the more your nervous system begins to trust you. And that is something that I will say over and over and over. When you're consciously aware of what you do mentally, emotionally, physically, you're understanding a little bit more. And if you're able to regulate, that sense of trust comes in. You didn't force it, but you stayed long enough to listen. So honestly, keep going. Keep giving yourself a few seconds to land, and keep paying attention to what actually helps versus what just distracts. That's how steadiness is built, quietly over time. You're not behind, you're not late, you're right on time for your own nervous system. And that is enough.